Roll call.
Steve Ritter.
Here.
John Woodward.
Here.
Fred Vogel will be absent. Jen Reimer.
Here.
And Bill James.
Here.
Yeah, him and Chris are, we had a pre-meeting.
Okay, is there any public comment this morning?
Not for me.
Good?
Yep.
Okay. All right, hearing none. Going down the agenda, 1725 Dolphin. Is there anything new that we need to add here?
They submitted a stormwater
Okay.
management plan 2 weeks ago that McCarthy's office approved late last week. So I was in contact with their attorney last Thursday or Friday and indicated if they can get me the operations and maintenance agreement, the $1,500 escrow for the 10-year inspection period by the end of November. And then with the understanding that as soon as we get those items back, they then need to take them to be recorded and they start moving forward on actually implementing the stormwater management facilities. That would resolve the stormwater management NOV, and then once those stormwater management facilities are in, I would think that would also resolve the property maintenance code NOV.
Yes.
So then the only outstanding issue would be the the Uniform Construction Code NOV, which I think we have a game plan for how to move forward on. Like, we need more follow-up from their engineer, but as long as they're in agreement to,
I saw you lumping up the schedule.
as long as they're in agreement to continue to monitor the wall for 18 months, and then at the end of that 18-month period, submit an updated structural report from their structural engineer, everything would be taken care of.
Is any of this that's going to be done going to affect any of the neighbors' yards?
No.
Meaning, is there going to be big machines sitting on someone's yards or anything
They
like that?
can't go on someone else's property without that property owner's permission.
So
What's the extent of
everything's
the
going to be
stormwater?
done. Everything's going to be done on the
So,
property.
I didn't look at it.
12 by 15 foot stone pit with tying the pipe in. So I assume they'll get like a mini excavator back there to do it, and but it'll all be done from their side, from their yard.
1725 set.
Yeah, it has to, because of the wall. They have to do all the work over the wall.
But then when we have that 100-year storm again, is it gonna affect the neighbor like it did last time?
That's it.
We don't know.
What I can tell you is the design they submitted meets our ordinance. That's all I can say. 'Cause
Excuse me.
Okay. Anything else on 1725 Dolphin? Hearing none. Zoning codes report?
My portion of the report is pretty self-explanatory. I thought it was.
It says very self-explanatory.
Joe, do you have anything you wanna add on craft report?
There's a lot on there, there's a lot of things to work out.
Do you wanna talk about them all? Chris?
I was gonna say, do you guys wanna update?
I was gonna ask you.
Well, we have,
I see it on my calendar.
this morning, file action for injunction with.
Yes,
We're waiting for an order.
Email.
That will tell us what's gonna happen next.
So, one of the things Chris and I just talked about that Jeff and I talked about last week is when we have a better idea of what action the court is gonna take on that, having a conversation with the tenants of the mall, being that Thanksgiving is next week, the holiday season is right around the corner. I did talk to Jacob Stein from Boss Pops on Friday and just kind of let him know where things are at. He asked me to express Boss Pops' gratitude for continuing to push current ownership of the property to do the right thing. He agreed it's unfortunate we had to go this route, but you know, he said we have Boss Pops' full support in moving forward.
Well, I'm hoping to have some more direction within a few days.
Who's the judge?
It's not assigned yet. It's
Did
probably,
they meet
by
that
the end of the
November
day,
eighth
I'm-
deadline? No.
Excuse me?
That's
By
why
the
we're
end of
doing
the
all
day.
this.
Okay.
Did anybody have any questions on crash report otherwise?
I do. So there's a ton of those people that have, the sidewalk is 2 inches above
Yep.
the landscaping. Is that a matter of someone went crazy and dug out a trench like this wide when they edged? Or is it literally that they, and what is the replacement for that? How do we fix that? Just a matter of putting dirt up against the up against it to get it to grade?
You talking about the sidewalk panel that's up 2 inches?
The sidewalk panels that are up 2
To do
inches.
with-
Yeah, that's enforcement of the sidewalk, so
I understand.
it's not that they went crazy with an edger, it is the panel is
Block
actually
is
lifted,
Walking
yeah.
direction, not
From
sides.
The one block. from the
Vertical,
next
not
would be-
parallel.
So like a trip hazard.
Oh, so it's a trip hazard?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so I misinterpreted that, okay.
So those are all eligible for the spring 50/50, which I'm sure Jim's gonna give an update when we get to that.
Okay.
Can I ask about Cedarwood? Like, this has been 4 years going now.
Yeah, my understanding from my last conversation with Jeff about it is that he was able to make contact with a child of the owner. I think
Yeah.
male on the deed is deceased. It was the wife that was the remaining property owner that is alive. There was action with the daughter starting to take care of some things, and it sounds like more recently it's been radio silence. So he was reaching out again to see if he could initiate that conversation, and then we were gonna talk about next steps and not of the fine variety, because we've tried that before and they were being paid, which gets us really nowhere, but possibly the injunction variety.
What's the next step with the 1903 Palmer? Or is it 1703?
1703 Palmer? I mean, it's really only condemned because the utilities are shut off.
Understand, but it keeps getting, the house is deplorable. We had sent NOVs out before that saying the siding's falling off the house, they hadn't cut the grass. I mean, it's one thing after the other with that project.
So that's a little extreme at this point to send to the Blighted Property Review Committee. The owner is in a rehab facility because she had hip surgery back in May. Jeff's been in contact with her because of another issue we had with someone she had let into the property that was effectively squatting there, who is now out of the property and knows he cannot go back in. I think Jeff was trying to work with her to see timeline for when she should be discharged and then would take back living at the property.
And I saw that our frequent flyer Jody Gerhardt's just dragging his heels again.
That's, Chris, I meant to reach out to you last week about the status of the injunction filing on that one, and I didn't get that far on my to-do list yet.
Okay, I don't have anything to say about that, I have to check with Michelle.
What about Cambridge Commons?
They just had their their rental inspection last week, I believe, because I was in touch with Gia Raffaelli, who's internal legal counsel for Cambridge. The NOV for E19 was withdrawn. She has a list as of, I think, Friday morning, I sent it to her, of the outcome from the rental inspection, and Jeff from Craft's office has been in touch with Justin House, who's the property manager for CCA, and it sounds like he's worked on the list and they're gonna have re-inspect in a month or so.
So, was the cooperation or seemed cooperation, was it precipitated by your chat with Kevin or not? No.
He's very far removed from things that far down on the totem pole.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Somebody living, like, the original complaint was mold 2 years ago. Somebody living in this
Which-
mold.
So mold's not, in that sense, mold is not a property maintenance code violation.
Okay.
It's not something we can cite, so that would be enough to warrant Craft to go in and just look at general interior conditions. But for that particular unit, if memory serves me, that mold was coming from a flooding incident in that storm of 22. And I know Joe Bollinger from Craft's office was over there on a daily basis while they were cutting out the drywall, doing the moisture testing, and everything passed.
Just ongoing stuff.
Any other questions for the zoning or the codes report? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the 4th and Oley pump station, and new there.
I'm putting the final touches on the agreements now that we have the cost per EDU to send those out.
Yeah, the cost basically came down from 1.2 million to 700,000 by doing the incremental step and not having the inlet Reading's additional flow go through it. So it worked out to be 2,500 in EDU. They all know
Yeah,
the fees, and you're just finalizing the agreements.
Costs range from, I think the least is 15,000 for the 6 semis on Windsor to 225,000 for the van rate apartments.
Yep.
And they all, I mean, they were told cost 2 weeks ago and nobody seemed to bat an eyelash, so.
Okay. So once we get those signed and back, then we'll start working on the permit application to DEP, which they're dragging on. We contacted them Friday in West Lawn, Intercept, we still haven't reviewed it, it's just sitting there waiting.
Yep. Western Berks Water Authority.
Just 2 items from me, we finalized the budget last week. Rates are going up 75 cents per 1,000 gallons, which is 19%. And we started giving water to RAWA last week for drought reasons. I know there was a meeting this morning, I'm not sure who exactly was there, but you probably have more up-to-date information than I do. If there's anything from there that you want to address, or
So all three of us, Greg, Jim and I, were at that meeting. Do you wanna?
Yeah, RAWA, needs some supplemental, water because of the drought. It sounds to me like our part in this, we have a meter pit at Trenton Parkside Drive North that we can feed over to Parkside Drive South and go into the city, by the, museum. Have to do some investigation, with valving and things. But they wanna try to do something in the next 2
2
weeks.
weeks.
Yeah.
Right, so it's not happening yet.
No, but not far out. Yes.
and that would be in addition to the water we're providing through Berks Township.
Okay, so is this a gift or
No.
there's a cost to the city for this?
They pay effectively the borough rate, no different than if we were using the water and getting charged for it.
Do they have any idea how much?
They were looking, that was our one connection, there was another connection in Shillington they wanted to use, but I think they were looking at 2 million gallons a day, of supplemental water. That'd be between us, Shillington, and the existing Byrne Township connection they're using.
What's
Three
that
connections.
worth to Western Berks?
Western Berks, they're making, I think they said 1.7 million gallons a day. They can make up to 4. The plant can do 4 million gallons a day.
I know they're bringing on 1, maybe 2 extra filters online to provide that water. So.
For what it's worth, Chip was rightfully so quick to make the point that RAWA has saved us on more than one occasion when the situation was reversed.
I'm just wondering to what extent this has an impact on the budget of Western Berks.
Chris had a quizzical expression on his face.
It would have, I would assume it would have a positive effect.
Yeah.
That's what they always want, to sell more water.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. It's only gonna help us.
Yeah.
What do you think about it, Drew?
To me, one of the takeaways from that meeting too is that 19% this year is 20% next year, 20% the following year, 20% the year after that, and 20% the year after that because of the long-term debt they're taking on, which I think we all knew, but knowing how much that factored into budget discussions this year, it's something to keep in the back of your mind for future years.
Is there any hope that some of these regulations might go away?
Not from what we talked about this morning. I mean, Chip made the point that the lead and copper rule, everybody's blaming it on the Biden administration, but it has been in effect long before current presidential administration before that, and administration before that.
I felt that same thing with PFAS, and somebody new at the EPA say, nope, nobody knows that yet.
And I will say, as far as Western Berks goes, there's kind of 2 things in play. One is the plant is 50 years old, so it's upgrades for that because it's old. The PFAS is another, we have to separate that out from the project. It's in the works, but that's probably another, I think we're estimating it's probably another $10 million in upgrades just to deal with the PFAS treatment. And everybody's gonna have to do it and just wait till it comes to wastewater too.
People have to drill wells in their basement backyards.
You can't under our ordinance, but
Gotta get caught.
That's the spirit, John.
And that won't necessarily help you either, cause it's in the ground.
and you're still getting billed for the minimum, so no matter what, we're still billing you.
Thank you. That was good.
And for what it's worth, we are still among the lowest rates in the area. Only beat by RAWA and I guess Muhlenberg.
How many authorities are there in Berks County?
Well,
That I don't know.
so there's Muhlenberg, there's Wawa,
Rough.
there's us,
Penn.
there's Robizonia, Wernersville,
Mount
Wilmsdorf.
Penn,
Yeah.
Probably doesn't.
Okay, that's a good number. That's true. All right.
So we're gonna talk lead pipe later on the agenda, right?
So there's nothing here that we have to discuss unless we want to discuss
Chris, do you have any update with the RAWA?
ownership of the pipe. Okay, so we'll table that. I'll make a motion to table the discussion of the ownership of the pipe under the bridge.
Second.
Motion is second, all those in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it. Takes care of that. Sanitary sewer.
The Boulevard Pump Station, it's done, it's been running for 6 months. There's some punch list items that we're still working with the contractor with to get that off this agenda.
Who's the contractor?
PSI Contracting. They've done a great job, but here again, it's really slowed up. The West Lawn Interceptor, the only thing there is as Westcon's been working out there and replacing a section of the West Lawn Interceptor, the house of Dr. Reedy's, we're unclear of where their sewage goes. We have to do a little bit of investigation there.
Unclear of where their what goes?
Sewage.
Oh, great.
That didn't help. Should have gone to the back.
I think what they're gonna find out.
It's not that, we just take some time to do a little,
Get a coat hanger out.
some testing.
Dividing rod.
But it may result in a very small change order to that contract to put a Y in the West Lawn pipe to reconnect that. That wasn't in the original plans.
Okay. Wyomissing Creek Interceptor.
They're crossing Cambridge Avenue,
See that? Everybody loves that.
man, I'm sure.
And they're in Bill Sweet's backyard
Yes, they are.
as of driving over today. I did hear something, which was a little troubling over the weekend. A new resident of the Vistas, is it called?
What the hell's that?
Highlands, the new apartment.
Informed me, they said, they just moved in at the end of September. And they said, oh, we want a garbage disposal. There isn't one in here. And they said, we're not allowed by the borough to have garbage disposals in here because the pipe isn't big enough. I said, what? I said, that's not us. We know nothing about that. So somebody over there is accusing the borough of, but he said that nobody in the business is allowed a garbage disposal.
I'm guessing they're a maintenance nightmare.
They probably don't wanna deal with them.
I'm guessing that, or else their pipes aren't big enough to carry it.
We've never had a discussion with them about garbage disposals in any of our meetings for the interceptor replacement or any of that.
No.
I told the gentleman, I know absolutely nothing about this.
What about the fence on the Doyle property next to Sweets? Are they able to replace that again, or are they moving that in further?
Talking about the house from facing Suites to the left.
Correct.
I think the game plan was they're gonna try to leave it in place. If they would have to remove it, that Westcon would remove it and then put it back. I think that's how
I
it
think
goes.
it should be removed. The way it looked.
Yeah, it's not there now.
So they are putting it back where it was.
I
I mean,
believe-
someone's putting it back where it was.
Yeah, I can't say that with absolute certainty, but I recall
Just curious.
a conversation like that.
I know the people who live there, and I was in their property at one time, when I saw this sewer drain where the manhole cover inside their property, I knew there was a problem.
Future problem, yes.
Okay, Anything else on the Wyomissing Creek Interceptor project? Here, none. Woodwood Pump Station upgrades? Anything new?
Nope.
Okay. Moving on to streets. We have the proposed list.
Is that on
Here we go. So this, we need to vote on this, and that looks like it's more than what we budgeted. Is that a fair statement?
you?
No, that's what was,
That's what we dropped it from 1.4.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so this group needs to, I'll make a recommendation, we approve, recommended to council the listed streets for 2025 project and authorize McCarthy engineer to design permit bid the project.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, pass that on to council. PennDOT State Hill Road improvements, anything new? Or how much is new?
We've got an email from Don Lurch last week saying that that based on the latest schedule, they would be authorizing or issuing us the utility relocation letter in 2025, so we should plan on a budget for that work in 2025. Because we were going back and forth with them, if this is really gonna be 25 or is it gonna be 26 for the budget reasons. And I believe the
What did we
Phillips-
determine for the budget?
We
reasons?
left it in
Left it in,
because
okay.
that last meeting was where I said there's a potential the 210 could come out, but I suggest leaving it in until we get the answer. So we left it in.
But we had reduced that number based on, as we looked further into what was gonna have to be relocated to the 210 number. It was like
It was double that
450.
originally.
Okay. So how much do you think we're gonna be? I mean, I know some of it's 50% reimbursement. How much are we gonna be in the 75 versus the 50? Do we have any idea?
The 75 is gonna be the relocation of the water meter pit from where it is now, which will be in the roundabout, up into the mobile mall property.
Okay.
That's probably, on the construction wise, that's probably a big chunk of the construction value. It's probably 80% of the water budget. Is
Cool.
that the sewer will all be 50%. I don't think there's gonna be any 75% on the sewer side.
Okay.
Speaking of that meter pit, have you been in touch with Jeff Jessel in the last week? Just to,
Not in the last week. He sent a crazy email where he changed all the pipe sizes from 10 and 12 to 6 and 8
Yeah.
about 3 weeks ago.
alright, he asked last week that I kinda asked you guys to keep him in the loop since things are gonna be happening fast with this.
He's the lead, not us.
I-
He needs to keep us in the loop. We were supposed to be the lead for a year and a half, and then all of a sudden, he Monday morning quarterbacked everything and we said, then you take the lead. And then when he sent me the 6 and 8, I said, nicely, what are you smoking? Why would we go from 10 to 12 to 6 to 8? I haven't heard back.
Okay, I would just ask that maybe you touch base with him because he might need some, it sounded like there was
The
information.
pit
he
was
needed.
done until he started messing with it the other week. So, I'll send him an email.
Thanks, Jim. Anything else on the PennDOT project?
There's a motion on here.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. I had
It's
it
okay.
checked off, too. Thank you.
Isn't that the motion we already approved at the last council meeting?
I didn't think that was approved because we were waiting for that answer.
No, we did. They gave us action on that condition. And we conditioned upon having the utility relocation letter from PennDOT in hand. So that, because anything prior to that letter is not reimbursable. And that's part of the other thing, since they told us that, we really don't wanna spend any time on that pit, cause it's not reimbursable at this point.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Okay, then disregard.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah, we don't need that motion, that was already done.
So what do I need to formalize that we don't have any of those on the thing?
It's just already been.
Yes,
It
I
already
think you
happened.
can just ignore it.
Okay, perfect.
Steve, I'm sorry, can we backtrack a minute, Steve, street improvements for a second?
Sure.
And I can say this because on the list, Penn Avenue in front of the fire station was on that list with, no action being taken. Once again, the other week, and Michelle, I think you were there, may have witnessed it also, that, the engine was backing into the station and damn near got broadsided. And then it went out to a call and almost got broadsided again, because people aren't stopping where they should be stopping. I know PennDOT said they're not gonna do anything, that there's nothing wrong with it. Well, I think we need to change one of those cameras on the station to right at that intersection, because we're gonna have an accident and there's gonna be legal issues involved. So, one of those closed circuit cameras needs to,
That's security first.
I didn't even know they had cameras.
Yeah, they have 6 of them. So that's security first. Would have to.
it's just, it's, you know, it's gonna happen sooner or later, so I'm surprised it hasn't yet.
How do you
And-
use a fire truck with its lights on?
Yeah.
Well, because people are
Carefully.
idiots.
Siren and.
You know, they look, oh, look at the fire truck. I mean, our guys were almost getting hit because they're trying to get out of the truck to stop the traffic. And some cars, they're driving right around the firemen,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, we really need to have a camera repositioned at that light. And I know PennDOT says, oh, there's not a problem.
Would that have put
No,
a
I
sign
think
up
it's-
saying cameras in use?
Just record
That'll slow people down.
Yeah.
We have signs that say emergency vehicle entrance, and they don't
I get
pay
that.
attention.
My point is,
Yeah, there's a flashing
underneath it,
sign
can we say
that
cameras in
always
use?
asks, the problem is it's like so close to the driveway.
Violators will be fined.
Not Greg. Tom helped me
Yeah, I think
submit
that
a potential
is a waste of
revised
time. I don't know if
plan
there's
and
such a
that
sign,
and they said he put it to.
Well, see, once driving on the highway, it says cameras in use, and you might get a fine. I'm like, ah, that's a must.
Exactly.
Is that
Why don't we have the staff look into that out of warning sign?
We just had this so I had Tom Walters at CPD look at this roughly 18 to 24 months ago. He submitted to PennDOT multiple options for changing the signage that is there, and PennDOT basically came back and said, nope, it's fine. You can put up 2 additional signs in either direction, westbound, eastbound, on Penn Avenue that says something along the lines of like emergency warning device ahead or something like that, and that was it.
So,
Did we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're hidden by the big trees.
Is it a crazy thought if the police's license plate reader cameras, if there was one on there, on the crossbar for the flashing yellow lights, that if a car did, just like a bus, if a school bus, if a car goes through or endangers the fire truck, that the police could go back, look, get their license plate number, and get a fine of some sort for not obeying the flashing yellow lights.
kind
I-
of like,
To
kind of
ask
like the use
John
of
if that's
camera
actually
in use, right?
enforceable, but
It's all after the fact, though. You're trying to.
Yeah, but you have it on-
Just find somebody.
Yeah, but I think if you get enough people who drive it every day, realize there's a camera up there now, you might
Somebody's
have
gonna
more
start
people slow
stopping.
down, and the person who doesn't know will be behind one of the people who do know.
Well,
And
it
they'll
sounded
have to
like
slow
there
down.
was more possibility of accidents than what you've been saying, as opposed to.
Well, yeah, because they're not using the red lights at all. They're not activating to have the lights go solid red on Penn because of where people are stopping.
And there's,
Because they're blocking
The
the
driveway.
apron to the fire station. Because of where the, you know, if you're heading westbound, because of where they have that, light. You know,
so,
it's,
I don't know how
poor
to
design.
describe these any better than using my experience. So driving home every weekend, I get to the Whole Foods coming home in Allentown, somewhere before you get on 222, and there's a thing that says red light ahead, and it's flashing, and you know there's a red light ahead. Is there something we could do saying, when the fire trucks start back coming out and coming out, that we have some kind of flashing lights? I know PennDOT said you don't need it, but
that would need PennDOT approval too, because not only is it a PennDOT road, but they consider that a flashing traffic signal, so we need a traffic signal permit for it. Yep, I mean, I can ask, I can certainly ask Tom Walters
Probably
if we
need a
could do
study
it.
too.
What?
Probably need a study too.
Always.
I mean, the more we ask, the more when something does happen, we can look at it and, you know, hit
Their
it
fault,
with
not our fault.
WTF stuff.
What if we just call Brian Boyer?
Is he ever actually in the office? Okay. If you
It's
want.
mind-boggling to me that people can't
Just
see a
don't.
gigantic fire truck with its lights on.
No, they're more important than the fire truck.
I know, but it's just mind-boggling. Accidents happen, but intentional accidents, it's just, yeah, you're right, school buses are bad, All right,
I can call Brian Boyer and tell him our concerns and maybe get him down here. He's the head of permits.
why don't we get a camera on it once and then be able to show him a few incidents and say, this is our concern.
Oh, no, he's an engineer. we don't need cameras, we can look at it and tell you what the problem is.
Got it.
I'm not so sure for our own protection. we should-
Well, no, you can do the camera, but, I mean, it's, I'll wait if you want to
gonna
after, Steve, if you want,
Somebody's gonna
I'll
get
I'll
sued.
glad to get the
No,
camera.
no, no, I got no problem calling, but if we get a bad answer, then we just start filming and say, this is what we're dealing with.
Well, no, it wouldn't be bad, somebody's gotta come down.
Okay. Let's do that.
It doesn't hurt.
I'll buy him lunch.
Can't take it, stay in play.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
DEP couldn't take donuts in MS4 order.
Just to be able to take this.
Donut.
Can't do that.
It's $50 under the index.
All right.
That's all. Basically.
We've killed that now,
Yep.
but it's a good point, Bill. 50/50 sidewalk project.
The regular 50/50 project, the contractor did start earlier this week, finally.
Okay.
So that is a good thing. With the special spring 50/50 sidewalk program, there's a couple of discussion points. These are the people that got the letters after their original violation notice that said, hey, we're gonna reintroduce the 50/50. So there's actually 12 people on there. There's also another list of people who have not done, they got the violation notice, have not done any sidewalk work yet, and have not responded to the 50/50. And there are 7 of those. I don't, it's just becoming very convoluted. Should those 7 people get a second letter, hey, you gonna join the 50/50 or not, or?
No. They've gotten letters for the last 10 years. It's my opinion.
It was part of the newsletter, it was on the website. Yeah.
The 50/50 is how old, John?
Yeah. It's, but that's, we've never sent letters out in general when 50/50 opens, it's in the news.
50/50 has been going on for
Yeah,
how long?
it's been in the newsletter, it's been
I
published
get you don't
elsewhere.
see it, but when you start seeing the same people digging up sidewalks and you live in this town, you gotta understand what, you have to figure something out or you're just trying not to care, right?
Well, they got the violation, and then they got a personal letter that says join 50/50, and they
Nothing.
weren't good, so.
And the violation goes certified, so somebody signed for it.
Well, then they've been notified.
And then the other one person issue was, what's the address on the bill?
1560.
He says he got the violation notice, he hired a contractor. The contractor started but didn't complete the work, and then he got the 50/50 letter. And he's saying, I'm getting penalized for trying to do the right thing, and I'd like half of my cost reimbursed. That's only come from one person at this point.
And it's not the 50/50 contractor that did it, right?
No, he
Yeah.
found his own contractor. But he's,
And the 50/50 has been going on for, I think it's longer than 6 years, I think it was.
It's
more
since
than that.
2015.
Since 2015. 'cause
Yeah,
it
that was the first year we did it.
Before I was here.
That was
The
Bill
borough
Murray's
went there
party
to cut the
gift.
tree back, right?
on Delaware, I believe we did grind some roots there, yes.
So when he put the new concrete in, the sections were like 13 feet long. Aren't they supposed to be 4 feet squares?
They should be.
Well, they are. There's 213, I just walked.
That's my fault then for not following or looking or getting,
He-
calling the inspector.
I feel like he just did that work since you got your hip surgery,
Yeah.
actually, cause he came in and I
Looks
talked to
pretty
him.
But I don't know.
Yeah, they could score, they need expansion joint on either
Every
end and
20, right?
score at 5 feet, yeah.
Every 20 expansions, would be
Yeah.
square joint.
Well, I'm just saying it isn't.
All right, so we're saying craft code for these people that did not respond to the 50/50 letter, whatever the next step is for them. and the guy at 1560 Delaware, we're going to say, sorry, you should be aware of the 50/50 program, and we're not gonna reimburse you.
I'd be willing to say to that gentleman, if at the end of the year, there's $1,000 left, we'll let it go, but we're not gonna, we can't promise you anything.
That's fair.
Well, then you gotta compare the private contractor price versus ours.
No, you
If
don't,
it was
'cause it's all
actually
has to be
done, well, it was
over.
actually
Well,
done
as long
properly.
as long
It's
as
gotta be more
over
than
the,
2,000.
it's gonna be over $2,000, so I won't worry about it.
But it would make
If it's
sure-
not
I
even
think it was
done
3.
properly, you shouldn't be getting
Yeah,
reimbursed.
he has to have.
Okay, and if you get it done properly,
Yeah.
and if there's money left in the budget,
That's the
you'll
reason.
qualify.
That's what it is.
It's fair.
I don't even know who it is, so that's
I
good
don't
news.
either.
So, that's good news.
Well, soon.
I'm sure.
You wanna make a motion on that?
All right, well, there's a motion to deal with anyway, right? All right, so, where the hell is
Then there's another discussion item there too with that. We want them to pick a.
Yeah. So there was talk about
Up
sending,
to page 4.
there was talk about sending this out to bid, but with the quantity of programs being so small, it's more cost effective to just add it as a change order to our existing contract. Because it's gonna cost, I mean, we're gonna spend $750 to advertise, we're gonna have to put bid specs together, all that stuff. We should just add this work because it's significantly smaller than the
How
existing
much?
contract.
What work is that?
It's only 836
It's
square feet.
spring.
And is, what was the original 50/50 contract?
I don't have.
I mean, it was
$71,000.
Right there, 71,254.
How much?
It was
71,254.
Right, have how many people applied for it?
The original one that's taking place
No,
right
the
now.
spring one.
This is 12. 12 people
It was
make up
$12,000.
836 square
Less
feet.
than 50% of the original contract, I'd be okay with a change order.
This is way less than 50% of the original contract. This is probably isn't even 10% of the original contract.
That's fine.
So I think
Change order.
rather than
Like
send,
this idea.
it's gonna be a lot more cost effective to add it as a change order.
I love that idea. And then this gentleman would then qualify as long as he does what he needs to do to make it look right and to work right.
Well, I mean,
No,
he's already done it. He's,
If
his
he's gotta
contract is,
score it or whatever those terms.
Well, if he didn't score it, he's gotta rip it out. He just gotta do that when it's wet.
Oh,
So you would put expansion joints have to be every 20 feet, and then they manually score it, like basically a joint that'll crack, and that joint instead of cracking down laterally. But I don't know if they did that, if they
I
scored.
have to go and look at
I
it.
didn't see it scored.
So it's just one big flat pad. Yeah, then it sounds like it's gotta rip that anyway.
where's the sidewalk like?
Nobody knows what they're doing.
His contractor didn't sound like he was on the 18 from my conversation with him.
Whatever contract report has,
so
never
how
built
about
a
this,
sidewalk.
if it doesn't work and it gotta get ripped out,
Add him to
bad hop, but he'll be allowed to get in a 50/50 thing because he did show initiative to try to do it, even though
Right.
he picked a
You
probably
having
bad
that kind of
contract.
conversation or not?
With the property owner?
And it sounds like, I think we said it
I wanna go out
was
and look
13
at it.
feet, so we're still only talking about another 60 square feet. That would- It's not gonna like make it a,
So now, this motion needs to be to approve the spring 50/50 project to be a,
Change order.
thank you, change order to the normal 50/50 sidewalk purchase or project. I'll go ahead and make that motion.
Second.
Did I do it wrong?
That's not on here. Can we get a price for the change?
I was gonna
order?
say, we can,
So you don't need
Do you wanna
to
do
take
your
any
report
action.
of
We had a
council?
conversation about it.
I can do that under my report of council, we can have the
We'll
change
just-
order, exact dollar figure and bring it to the council meeting under our report.
So we don't need a motion today.
So I rescind that motion. Been rescinded. You rescind your second. Okay, and then for 1560, I gotta think I was gonna make a motion to say. I'll make a motion that because we're under budget, we'll allow them to apply to the 50/50, but they have to fall in compliance with their sidewalk that they're putting in. If that means ripping it out, it means ripping it out. So I'll make that motion. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Gotta find out what that is. I'm sure it is. All right, water. We have a motion, we have a.
Path number
application.
two.
Number two.
Everything going well?
It's going.
Shouldn't have asked the question. So there's a pay application number 2 to Algeier Enterprises LLC. And I'll make a motion to approve payment application number 2.
Second.
We have a motion to second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Anything on new on the Cambridge Avenue Culvert and Pedestrian Bridge?
We're gonna have, in December, we're gonna have a second pre-con for that contract just to kick this off, because they can't start in there until January 1.
Nothing, I assume there's nothing right now on the admin and police department need study? Hearing none. Public Works Garage, we have a couple we have one payment application, payment number 12 to Bolton Construction has been received. And the committee needs to make a recommendation to approve, deny, or table recommending payment application number 12 in the amount of $86,776.26. And I will not make that motion.
Make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I abstain due to my influence with Tompkins Financial. And we have a discussion of a ribbon cutting once it is complete. We did get a big grant. Those people probably want to have their picture in the paper sometime in the next 12 years, whenever the paper gets around to publishing it. I think it's probably a good idea to thank the politicians who got us the grant, helped us get the grant. I'm not saying I'm gonna be in it, but.
They can be in it.
Right. Okay, so everybody's okay with that moving forward? Okay, great.
Just want to ask Michelle, we're gonna still keep using Tompkins line until we pay it off, is that right?
Phyllis is trying to very carefully calculate, projecting out, her and I sat down and talked last week about the timing of this meeting, the December finance meeting, the December council meeting, and then the closing date for the new loan. So we went back and forth as to what she's trying to do is for the December finance meeting, have the last draw approved, that will be approved at the December council meeting, and then if you think about it, there's going to be additional proceeds from that loan that are going into an account. So her thought was just pay anything out of those additional proceeds to avoid having to potentially have a special meeting to approve one last draw after the December council meeting.
Can Phyllis let me know when that note is totally done and used so I can vote?
Yes. I mean, it would effectively be, I would think probably if council's December 12th, the 13th or 14th at the absolute latest.
Fine. I just don't want to do anything wrong.
We-
You okay with that, Chris?
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
I'm
want
gonna follow the rules.
to be clear that, the project work at this meeting is still gonna come off of that.
Okay. Stonehouse Park project. So we have payment application number 4 to Construction Master Services for $82,570.39, and I'll make the recommendation to approve that payment application.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then the change order number 2, can we re-establish what that was?
There were to make it the trails ADA accessible. There were 2 trails that they were just elevated. It looked like they were floating in space, and we decided to taper the edges off and do some fill so it wouldn't look so strange. And the change order is to add fill and taper the edges of some of the trails.
Why wasn't that done in the first place?
It was a visual, I guess, when it was actually built, would be my answer. So, boy, that looks strange, you know.
It looks good now, I just walked it.
Yeah, it does look good.
I'm just saying, why wasn't, why wasn't it initially done? I mean,
Well, you eliminated the one path and held it higher.
Right.
So during construction, when they went to do it, the paths were higher in the air to meet ADA, and the decision was made to eliminate one connector path that allowed those to be brought down. So when that all brought down, then these other areas had steeper grade. Because it was done for cost reasons, tying the slopes in at 3:1, and the additional was to tie them out in flatter for aesthetic reasons. So it worked, it could have left that way, but it was essentially, it was decided for.
We could have left it the way it was. We
It
could have,
worked, there was no
yeah.
drainage issues or anything like that, it was an aesthetic decision. And I think the overall.
Is there any grant money that's gonna be, is this just coming out of the budget?
No, I think we eliminated the one path too, so
Yeah.
eventually.
So
they-
we're still under the grant number?
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually, I don't know, they wanted to get paid for this early. I asked them to wait till the end when we did the zero change order because it would actually wash and the overall project cost would come down from the bid contract amount because we eliminated that one
Right.
path section. But they wanted to get paid their $5,100 and not wait for it.
Okay.
Don't
Everybody good with that?
Oh, and $5,108, I'm sorry.
All right, so I'll make the motion to approve, recommending the council change order number 2 in the amount of $20,874.30 for the arenas we just discussed.
Second.
With the motion is second, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Anything else? Still has Brendan? Okay, I thought you said something.
I think it looks good.
So do I. Yeah. Parkland study, anything new?
No.
Lead,
Not really, this year.
okay. Lead rule update?
Just that the letters went out, yesterday, I believe it was, to the 645 unknowns that we have. And we'll be, hopefully we get some response from those people that we can, lessen that number. And from what I understand from today's meeting, we have till 2027 to try to get rid of our 640 unknown service lines.
I think the other
Are
good
they
piece to that meeting this morning was, say 2027 rolls around and we still have 664, we have to fix 10% of that number every year, so 60 a year.
Put them in a lottery so you have to spend the money.
So did they get a letter like this one West Reading sent out?
Yeah.
Similar to that.
There's 3 different letters you can get.
Okay, I think that's something we're gonna have to publicize to, although if it's 624 people, no sense sending off the alarm for everybody, maybe we need to target, market that
Yeah.
segment. Is it predominantly in one part of town?
2 parts of town, predominantly some areas in Berkshire Heights and some areas over here, what I call the upper end of the one-way street area. Those are the 2 main.
The upper end of the one-way street,
The
Delaware,
one-way,
Dolphin.
we're
Delaware.
Delaware.
16,
between
1700 blocks.
Penn and
further
Clayton.
down
Between
towards,
Penn and Clayton,
okay, towards, okay,
and mostly Delaware, Penn, wherever it's the oldest construction.
got it. Okay,
So I got one, can we go back to the stone house?
I asked you if you had anything else on the stone.
Well, I just look at my list here, but,
Yes, you can go back.
how about the grass seed? I mean, we don't have any rain to make it
Right.
grow, but what's gonna happen with
Right.
it? That'll never grow.
Yeah.
Grass seed's expensive.
They seeded it, late, 2-3 weeks ago, I guess 2-3 weeks ago. We've had one rain since then. We're gonna hold retainage, I'm assuming till springtime, and, we'll see what happens.
So if it doesn't grow, they'll put some more seed out.
Yeah.
Well, I called my guy to put the seed down, and it was like the Sahara Desert, and they came back and did it again and again. And I said, I'm not paying for this. Do you guys read the weather reports? You're sodding the Sahara Desert. They said, how about if we come back in spring? I said, it sounds like a good idea. So this would be a good idea.
We've already addressed it with the sidewalk program, same thing. People get mad when there's no restoration for the sidewalks, so he's just gonna topsoil it, put some fabric over it, and then come back in the spring and seed it. That's it.
Makes sense.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
It's okay. Anything on the split rail fence in the Parklands? So, related to that, I spoke to a Boy Scout who looked at that pavilion, I don't know what you call it.
Gazebo.
The gazebo.
Yeah.
And they went to the expense or called in a friend to look at that, and they think they could do some significant work to that, and thinks it's well under in his capability, and would love to move forward with that. Since this is a Boy Scout conversation, I assume we can have this conversation.
That's on the agenda for Wednesday's Park and Shade meeting.
Oh,
Yeah, so if we have somebody, that'd be great.
we do.
Okay. Yeah, I
Sure,
mean, that's
I
somebody
can
who's
share the
looking
name.
for a project.
He's looking for a project and
Yeah.
would love to restore it. He has ideas. I didn't ask, because my ideas all come from my wife when it comes to restoring stuff. So he'd have to talk to my wife.
As long as it's approved, he just has to reach out to me.
The wife has to approve.
Well, I feel like
My wife didn't approve anything.
my project got hijacked,
It did.
and it got hijacked, and it's not, has nothing to do with Musk putting another rocket ship on the moon. It has to do with 20 feet of split rail on Old Wyomissing Road. We've been talking about this now enough for people to get a serious headache, but I'm totally bummed. Floral Teeter wasn't hired to give us a weather report on the green project out there and how Wyomissing will disappear if there's another flood. They're supposed to give us ideas about flowers and trees and birds and stuff. Good. So we now know that if it really rains on Old Wyomissing Road, something might disappear, which will also include the rest of Wyomissing too. It won't just be Old Wyomissing Road. So why, when there are a number of people that say, that's not a bad idea, it looked good, people enjoyed it, it's part of the old Wyomissing look, but every time I come to a meeting, the Boy Scouts said they would do it. I found a guy who would spray my gazebo for $10. Bingo, fixed, white gazebo that's rusty or whatever it is, dirty, we could do that. The Boy Scouts said they would do that as well, in addition to the split rail fence. If everybody here really is deep inside, think they want to do the split rail fence, let's just have a vote and see where this problem is that we can't do the split rail fence. Because we're gonna keep talking about it, and next it'll be, I don't know, the fire police
It's
next.
funny, because I was gonna ask to take it off the agenda. So we weren't ever gonna talk about it again.
Well, then we should take a vote. If we vote no, then so be it. But we should vote and, belly up to the bar. It's not new taxes, it's just a couple bucks worth of wood.
It's on
There's
the
no
Park and
motion
Shade
to make, so
meeting
I can't.
agenda, correct? Still?
I don't recall off the top of my head, it might
I
not
don't
be.
remember, I read it this
It's
morning.
been on
I
every.
mean, it looks like it
committee.
went back, this is saying it went back to Park and Shade.
Yeah, there's.
I believe Park and Shade is going to,
It hasn't been a personnel yet.
Well,
Denied.
the reason, if I recall, was, they said, well, because it's in the floodplain, it's gonna wash away. Well, I was here in 1972 when Agnes hit, and it's withstood Agnes, and every other flood that, Old Wyomissing Road has flooded out, it's withstood that. Now, maybe, if it finally did wash away, maybe it's because it probably was rotted, and so they just decided, boom, take it out, okay?
Well, it's
But-
not, it's
Can I
not a
make this a
budgeted
little
item, it's
simpler?
not a budgeted item for
We can't
2025,
issue
doesn't
it.
mean we can't do it.
We can't issue a zoning permit to put a fence in the floodplain. So we can't issue a permit to replace a fence.
What?
Can't put a fence in floodplains.
It's not a fence.
It's a
Split
structure.
Just put a rail fence.
Well, it wasn't a fence when it was originally built, now it became a fence. What
Well,
do we
you
call it?
called it a
We call it a
fence.
fence.
All right, so all of a sudden, if you put something up, it's now you need to have a zoning permit?
Yes.
From us, you have to give ourselves a permit.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, give ourselves a permit
We
then.
I can't.
Why?
Because it violates your zoning ordinance, you can't put a structure in a floodplain.
Oh my God, did we really get to that level now, that because somebody
We're
tells
supposed
us?
to be the example, not find ways around it. that would be denied for any
What
person
about-
that applied
what
for
I
it.
would have known that months ago. You know how long we've been kicking this can around?
The answer was 6 months ago, we can't do something we can't do. What about the split rail on the other side of Old Wyomissing Road? That
Is
is
it-
grandfathered, right?
Is it in the floodplain?
Yeah,
Then no, you can't get a zoning permit for it.
it's already there.
Well, we're not gonna make
But
them
it
take
exists,
it
you can't,
down.
you can't, we're not making them take it down and put
I
it back
just said
up.
that, it's
But if it goes
grandfathered.
away.
It's grandfathered to exist, it's not grandfathered to be replaced.
I didn't say it was gonna be replaced.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about, I wanna know if we're
Because it's
talking about putting a
grandfathered,
fence
it
up.
doesn't fall under the,
We can't make people take things that are constructed down very easy.
Otherwise, Cambridge Commons would be
The
gone.
whole part of the
Exactly,
whole thing.
yeah.
up
If you
until,
can't put
up
and
until 7
replace it.
minutes ago, we've been talking about this for 7 months, and we find out we couldn't have done it anyway because of some other stupid government rule that we can't ignore or figure out a way around.
Oh.
But if that's it, I guess that's it, end of story.
Well, I said it when Florida Tater brought it up, that you can't issue a zoning permit because it's in the floodplain.
But nobody was listening to you, because nobody
No,
heard
it's
it.
in-
Talk to the park change, that's my fault then, if I didn't hear that, my apologies. So I'll make a recommendation, we just take it off the agenda.
Based upon the regulations, I'll second.
There's nothing to second, just take it off. But thanks.
So,
Median aisle to Wyomissing Boulevard in front of Atonement. This will be fun.
What the, yeah, what is,
Puppies?
what's this all about?
Bunch of
Each,
puppies.
each one of these is, I don't know,
Is
do I
that
wanna
feel
edit
good
my
thing
image
or-
using AI?
That
Each-
white thing that's in the center, they're just trying
Yes.
to paint it, so it's
So
not
they would
plain white.
stencil
They
paint
painted
this.
it months ago.
Each one of these
Put it in
panels
mural on top
is
of
one
that.
option, so you were looking at option 1, which is the stars and stripes, option 2 is the flowers, option 3 is the welcome, and then the additional 3, the hearts, flowers, and the Wyomissing Area School District symbol. I
I say flag.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know,
It's not, you know how long that's gonna stay looking like that?
when I was chairman of
Couple
West
weeks.
Reading Main Street Authority, we started the
Yeah, it's on
mural
one side.
program there. I was the only one that said it looked ghetto. And they went through with it, it's okay, and it looks all right in West Reading, off the avenue. But as the gateway to Wyomissing, I think it looks terrible,
I second the motion.
you know.
Why can't we get urns, like just big
I
heavy
didn't
urns
expect
and
this.
put
Maybe
flowers
that's my
in
Line
there?
of sight,
Yeah, it'd be back-
sight
setback.
triangle.
Well,
Well,
there's no
there's no-
problem, we can go out and water this stuff, that's not an issue, but
Instructions to do.
line of sight, they don't have to be that tall. I mean, you
Can't be
can get
taller than 2 feet, but
for line of sight.
yeah, can't be taller than 2 feet within the clear sight triangle.
It has to be 2 feet clear behind curved face for accents.
I think all of this is a short-term situation, because once we get to phase 3 of the State Hill, the PennDOT stuff, we figure out what they're doing at that intersection, then that situation can be dealt with at that time. In the meantime, we paved over something that wasn't.
You'll be dealing with it at that time.
Yeah, and so it's sort of a short
We already
term.
talked of that part of the
So
project.
you
not
might
gonna happen.
gonna show
They're not
it
gonna
just,
do that.
Well, they might not
Sure.
do, they're gonna do
Yeah.
something there, they
We'll
probably won't
send it
do
to-
a roundabout,
I'm gonna ask Brian that question.
but they may change lanes on one side or the other, I don't know.
But the cost
But
of what
still, at
John's,
that point, we need to fix that side of the road.
the cost of what John's talking about doing is our lunch cost when we have a meeting. That's how much it's gonna cost to put flowers there for 22 feet. And I know it's the maintenance work that takes place later, but we water, we pick up leaves, we do this. We should just put Wyomissing back the way Wyomissing looked and move on.
Would it be a fair compromise, tear the blacktop out and just put in some round river rock? Would that be a happy medium?
Well, I thought you said your problem was that people would drive over it,
They
and they would
do.
be scattering the rocks.
That
and
would
so
happen.
the-
River rock would be
What?
bigger,
Honestly,
so it'll cause problems to, it'll still scatter out.
You want people driving over it.
It'll still look better than it does now.
But do you want people driving over
It's
it?
in Roundabout.
Well, people are driving over it now anyway.
The rocks?
No, they're driving over whatever the white thing
Well, I
is.
understand that, but
I would like it to
don't
be
want
that,
scattered
I would
lots.
like to put something in there that their car blows up if they run over.
Put guide rail on it.
But I don't think we can do that.
Put guide rail if you're worried about driving over it.
IED,
Put guide rail if you're worried about driving over it.
Yeah, that's next to it.
How many people have come to us and said, I made a turn coming into coming into Wyomissing Boulevard, and I want you to pay me for the fact that I had to go over the curb? How do we know these accidents take place there?
They're not accidents, I just know when we had plantings in there,
It's tire marks.
it's tractor trailers, it's not really cars, it gets,
They're not supposed to be there anyway.
they're not, but they drive over it.
We could get the police to find them and fix it.
Well,
So why don't you could put rocks inside of it, and at the end, you could put like a little baluster, so that,
Oh, who?
like a baluster, like a big, like a post.
A bollard?
So you're
A
really-
bollard, you could put a bollard there.
I
That was-
think
You
that
can't put a
would-
bollard there.
Can't put a bollard.
Can't put a
there.
bollard
See,
there.
told you.
What if we did?
So PennDOT has approval over everything within
Right.
150 feet of that
Jeff,
intersection.
Right.
because it's
What if we
free.
do, what if we do,
And that is approved.
What if we do grass? We just planted a flower bed and the sign, Randy's signs there. We could get sod and have instant grass if we dig out the blacktop.
I said that right from the beginning.
yes.
why don't you just put
Not
variety
humidity
there?
there, from what I understand.
Yes.
So,
Grass is cheap.
I have to,
People are gonna run over it, so grass
Is your
is cheaper
camera
to
working?
replace.
Excuse me?
is your
Grass
camera
is
working?
cheaper to
Yeah.
replace.
Pink
I'll
grass
have to
leaves
admit,
on it.
what Mr. Janik brought up about the low water vegetation that only grows this much, I could live with.
That's
But the
invasive.
problem-
It's invasive. That's
What's
invasive. Loripia is invasive.
Oh, it's
the line.
invasive. Well, we
Yes.
can't put it
We
in.
can find, one little spore of that blows.
Periwind will.
Where's the-
Loripia is invasive.
Yeah, but you can stop it, you didn't invade anything in mind. You can stop it so easy. Where did you see invasive in my plan?
Alright,
You can
let's
find
go
a
with- Let's go
non-invasive.
with the rock and we'll consider a non-invasive, low maintenance plant, but let's go with the rock because cars are gonna run over the non-invasive plant too.
It's just a brutal environment, it gets salt, it
Yep,
gets
I get it.
sun, it
Let's
gets
go
exhaust.
with, are we okay with rock? And I hate to do that to the
Have fun.
See you later.
Girl Scouts. Let's find them a project that they could do somewhere else. Maybe they could put a fence that we can't put up. Maybe they could paint the fence.
They can paint my wall in the back.
What do you mean, it's a hearing board.
So we're gonna dig out the macadam that they put in the curb.
Alright, so I'm gonna make a recommendation that we deny approving the Girl Scouts paint thing. I hate to do it. So I'm gonna make that recommendation.
I'll second that, I don't hate to do it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I just hate that they went through the work. A motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Now, we owe the Girl Scouts a project, so let's find them something to paint. They could paint something at Happy Hollow. I love the flag thing. Let's have them paint something at Happy Hollow.
That'd be cool.
Or, and Wyomissing Hills Playground, and Berkshire Heights. So we got all three covered. I don't wanna get in trouble.
I don't think we have any surfaces to paint Berkshire Heights.
Perfect, then we've eliminated
Yeah,
one.
you will.
Then we've eliminated one. I applaud them for coming up. I actually thought the flag idea was great. The other ones I thought, well, man, that's, and you can't do the school district one because
Yeah.
the Berks Catholic people go crazy. And the Wilson people go crazy. Okay. We killed it. We're gonna dig it out someday and put rocks in when we have enough money extra in the budget and there's some rocks free. I go down to Cape May a lot. I can get you a bunch of rocks every time I go.
Bring them back.
Bring seashells.
I'll give you
Just
some
tenant
rocks.
trip.
I'll bring, what's that?
I'll give you some rocks.
Okay. All right, we're done. Berkshire Heights Playground.
I think this can actually, for now, come off because council approved putting it out to bid.
Good.
Or I'm sorry, you,
Design and
yes.
bid.
State Berkshire Heights Playground off the list.
You know, if it's for-
Automated red light enforcement grant application.
Do you wanna,
So this is like, sort of like Green Light Go, except Green Light Go was a 70-30 match, Arley's 100% match.
I like it.
So if the borough wanted to apply for any of the upgrades at the various intersections throughout the borough, Tom Walters had put together a preliminary list of all kinds of things.
including some for the school district,
Yep.
that would help them.
So if we want to pursue it, we have to get moving to pursue it, and if we don't, then we just don't pursue it.
I'll make a motion that we approve recommended council to,
Oh, we can also have multiple applications. So we don't, if we want to put like 3 in
submit as
instead of
many
one big one.
applications as possible for the ARL program grant applications projects discussed at the infrastructure committee.
Fire department eligible for this?
You're asking the wrong guy.
Well, it's up there, I just
Yeah,
think
'cause
it's,
it is.
has lights and traffic.
It would be a traffic
It's on
light.
PennDOT.
That is if we knew there was an improvement there that was needed. The problem
Right.
is PennDOT's told us, no, your improvement's not needed there. I mean, not to say we can't ask the question again, but I'm guessing we're gonna get the same answer.
Yes.
Yes.
I have a
It,
recommendation.
it
to
may
move-
be eligible. That may be
Like,
eligible.
yes.
I have a recommendation to move it to council. Does anybody want to second that?
Second.
We have a motion is second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Move it to council. That's it for the agenda. The infrastructure committee meeting is over.